are delighted to welcome Finola, a St. Louis sister from Dublin, as our speaker today. Finola has worked and lectured widely in education, spirituality, theology, pastoral care, counselling, and retreat ministry, and she is also a spiritual director. She holds a PhD from Fordham University, New York, and has taught at Dublin City University, Fordham University, and St. Michael's College in Vermont. Finola has lectured and led retreats internationally and is a widely published author with over 100 articles since her first book was published in 2004. We look forward to her insights as she guides us in finding inner peace. I'll now hand you over to Finola. Welcome, Finola.
Thank you very much, Ailish. I'm delighted to be here with you this evening, and welcome to everyone who's attending tonight. And this is a very important mission that you're hosting in the Kerry Diocese, and I have the privilege of being with you this evening. So thank you for that. And tonight, as Ailish was saying, we're paying attention to finding inner peace. And as I was reflecting on this, I was thinking of a question and how to begin, a question for you. And the question that I came up with is, do you find yourself at peace at the moment? Peace with yourself, peace with others, peace with your God. And that sometimes is a difficult question to answer. And sometimes it begs another question. What is peace? How do I know when I'm at peace? I'm conscious that all our lives can be stress-filled from time to time. And how do we deal with this stress? Does the stress disturb my inner peace? Or are there any ways in which I can protect my inner peace from disturbances? I think one of the first things I want to say here this evening is that inner peace is not something we search for and find. Inner peace is something I create. It is about putting things in place that will help me create inner peace for myself. And when we think and reflect on inner peace, it's often important too to focus on that there are important elements of inner peace and important elements to inner peace. And for example, one of the important elements in creating inner peace is about presence. It's about being present, being as present as I can to a given moment. And maybe a story that I'll tell will help with that. There's a story told about a wise man who invited a friend of his to dinner. And they enjoyed their meal and the time they spent together. And when they had finished their meal, the friend said, can I do the dishes? Or do you mind if I do the dishes? And the wise old man said, do you know how to wash the dishes? And the friend thought, of course I know how to wash dishes. Everyone knows how to wash dishes. And the wise man went on and he said, you can wash dishes in two ways. You can wash dishes in order to have clean dishes, or you can wash dishes to wash dishes. And he explains, he said, if while you're washing the dishes, you're thinking about the cup of tea you're going to have afterwards, then you're not washing the dishes. And chances are that when you're having your cup of tea afterwards, you're not enjoying it because you're thinking of the next task that's to be done. And so it's about trying to live in the present as much as I can. And that can be a very hard task for all of us. Perhaps another little reflection might help with this. And it's a reflection that I particularly like. And it's entitled, My Name is I Am. And it goes like this. I was regretting the past and fearing the future. Suddenly, the Lord was speaking. My name is I Am. When you live in the past with its mistakes and regrets, it is hard. I am not there. My name is not I was. When you live in the future with its problems and fears, it is hard. I am not there. My name is not I will be. But when you live in this moment, it is not hard. I am here. My name is I am. And I find that to be a particularly helpful reflection because we all find ourselves several times a day going back to the past or thinking about the future, whereas the only moment we have is now. And maybe tonight is an invitation to begin practicing presence and being present. Another element of creating inner peace is about acceptance. Accepting myself as I am, accepting the great gift of myself, this self that is made in the image and likeness of God. And scientists talk about each of us having our own biological DNA. This is what identifies us. It's what makes us unique. But how about we understand our DNA in a different way? And we understand our DNA as our divine nature activated. And so each of us with our own unique divine nature that God is inviting us to share with the world. In Charlie Mackesie's second book, entitled The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, the Horse, and the Storm, the mole tells us, your voice is important. You have a song to sing that no one else can sing. So creating inner peace is also about having self-compassion, having that compassion for myself, patience with myself. There is a saying, be patient with yourself. Shouting at a flower won't make it bloom. And so one of the kindest things we can do is to be gentle with ourselves, is to be patient with ourselves. And that's one of the ways in which we read in our gospel. Our gospel invites us to do this through the lovely sentence, love your neighbor as yourself. And sometimes we forget this little word in the middle of that invitation. We forget about the word as. And sometimes we tend to give ourselves away in order to look after the needs of others. But the gospel is inviting us to put ourselves first, not in a selfish way, but in a way that enables us to look after others. Think, for example, if you ever travel on an aircraft and the safety instructions we hear when we board the plane. And one of the sentences that we're told there is, put on your own oxygen mask first, and then attend to the person beside you. So if we don't have enough oxygen ourselves, how can we possibly attend to those around us? And we can use that image metaphorically speaking too. Love your neighbor as yourself. So we're talking there about three important elements. The element of presence, the element of self-acceptance, the element of and self-compassion. And we might assume that that once we find peace within us, within ourselves, we will finally be free of our troubles. But that's not the case. Finding and creating inner peace is about experiencing and appreciating life from a different perspective. And so feeling at peace internally can boost my overall contentment and feelings of happiness, regardless of the challenges that I may face. And a relaxed and calm outlook can help one navigate life's turbulent waters in a smoother way. So it can help us walk through life in a way that we still have to deal with our crises and the stresses, but we're helped. We're not taken down by them. We're not as overwhelmed by them. But creating and finding inner peace isn't as challenging as it may seem. We all have ways that work for us. We all have ways that we've been engaging in to find that inner peace and to bring us into a stillness. And I'm going to share some of what I find helpful. Excuse me. One of the ways that I find helpful is to become aware of my breathing. It's to focus on my breath. And it's to allow my breath to bring me deeper and deeper into myself. And how might I do that? And an example, this is what I find helpful: to breathe in deeply and hold it and breathe out slowly and completely. And repeating that a number of times. And as I do that, I find myself slowing down. I find myself becoming a little still, and I find myself going deeper and deeper into my own inner self, my own inner sanctuary. And very much connected with that is meditation. And a lot of people like to practice meditation. And some people might ask, well, what is meditation? And meditation is a way of calming the mind. It's a way of reducing stress. It's a way of quietening myself. And again, it's all about becoming aware of my breathing, something that we've been doing from the moment we came into the world and that we will continue to do. And it's allowing my breath to bring me deeper and deeper into my own inner stillness, into my own inner sanctuary. And some people find this really helpful. And it's very easy to find various meditations online if you wanted to explore that further. And it's a form of mindfulness. It's a form of being mindful. And so meditation can be very helpful to facilitate and to help us create and find our inner stillness. Another way that I really enjoy is spending time in nature, allowing nature to be our guide, allowing nature to teach us, whether we find ourselves at the seashore or in the fields or taking a walk in the countryside or perhaps in the woods or the forest or on the greenway, excuse me, on the greenway. And yesterday, for example, I went for a walk on a very quiet rural road, and it was beautiful listening to the birds singing, noticing the daffodils beginning to blossom and to emerge and to blossom, the snowdrops, the crocuses, those beautiful spring flowers. So spending time with nature. And another way too that I find is really important is spending time with animals, whether they are our pets or whether they're farm animals. Animals have a lot to teach us. And animals can teach us how to live in the present moment. Or if any of you attending tonight enjoy fishing, that time of quiet, whether you're at the water's edge or further out into the sea, surrounded by the quiet, waiting patiently for the first catch and the focus. And no wonder some people love fishing, because it has that great power to quieten us, to soothe us, to bring us into the present moment. If you like being creative and doing creative things, what a wonderful way to create inner stillness for yourself. One of the things I love doing is cooking. I find that so quietening, so calming, so reflective, so creative. And what beauty in creating a beautiful meal and something that other people enjoy and that you enjoy yourself. Baking, some people love baking. What about knitting or sewing or cross stitch or artwork, painting? Some people enjoy the adult coloring books, the mandalas. What about gardening? Again, entering into the quiet, farming, listening to music, playing a musical instrument, reading a poem. And I'm very conscious that music and poetry have been made and shaped in silence. And reading a poem, more often than not, offers a direct personal voice. And our reading a poem slowly in those quiet moments is a one-to-one experience. A connection is made where another mind, another imagination, emotion, another's experience becomes ours, all bringing us into the present moment. So anything that you enjoy that is creative and doing creative things that bring you into a stillness, that is really, really helpful. Another way is practicing gratitude. We often hear about the benefits of practicing gratitude, taking time during and at the end of a given day to say thank you. Thank you for whatever it is I want to be grateful for that day, for the roof over my head, for the lovely meal I had, for the person who helped me out today, for the person who said something nice to me or welcomed me, for the lovely cup of tea I had, whether on my own or that was shared with another. Gratitude for the unexpected visitor. The list is endless. What is it I am grateful for today? And to practice that every day can enable us to notice what it is I want to be grateful for today. And it's about naming and celebrating all that I am grateful for at the end of each day. And practicing gratitude is a great form too of helping us create inner stillness. Practicing forgiveness. Forgiveness is a difficult one because we all experience hurt and anger when someone treats us unfairly. And that's very understandable. And, it's a natural reaction. But holding on to grudges, holding on to slights, doesn't help me find inner peace. Forgiveness isn't always easy, and it can take time to forgive someone or to forgive myself. And perhaps if we could look at forgiveness as doing myself a favor, it's about letting go of what is holding me back, what's getting in the way of my progressing, getting in the way of my inner peace. And so the art of forgiveness is doing myself a favor. It's helping myself let go of what gets in the way of my becoming my best self, that person that God is continually creating me to become. Another way that I find helpful is spending time with positive people, people who give me joy, people whose company I enjoy, people who energize me, people I love, people I feel comfortable with and safe with. And we often talk about detoxing the body, but there are times when we need to detox from toxic people, people who are full of negativity, people who sap my energy, people who leave me feeling drained. And so the importance of spending time with positive people. Another one that can be quite difficult, but I feel it's really important, is trying to reduce comparisons. You know, as human beings, we often fall into the trap of comparing ourselves with others. And there's a friend of mine, whenever she catches me doing this, she says, comparisons are odious. And again, Charlie Mackessy's first book, The Boy, the Horse, the Fox, and the Mole, he tells us that the greatest waste of time is comparing myself to another. And so perhaps one of the ways that will help me create inner peace is to reduce the comparisons, to try and reduce the comparisons I make and pay attention to myself, value the person that I am, and live from the knowledge that I am lovable and I am loved. Now, there are a whole lot of ways in which I find helpful to help create inner peace. And the list is endless, and it's not just confined to what I've said. But another one that I really want to put in here is acceptance. Accepting particularly what I cannot change. You know, I might find myself in circumstances that are beyond my control, and I cannot change them. But the prayer that I find really helpful here is that beautiful serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So there's something about acceptance. When I accept, I stop the fighting. And sometimes I could be wasting my time, my energy, and giving away my inner peace because I find it difficult to accept something. So that great gift and working towards training myself to accept the things I cannot change. And maybe we'll just do, not to tire you out this evening, maybe we'll just do one final one. And it's about making time for myself. And spending time on my own can lead us to finding inner peace in the midst of our frantic world. And sometimes we need to get off the world in order to get ourselves together again. And so it's so important to spend time alone. It's so important to have a cup of tea with myself, giving myself time to be, time to breathe, time to reflect, time to reconnect with who I am and where I am going. And this can help me develop a deeper sense of contentment over time. So maybe we'll take a little break here and just reflect on, so what have you heard? What has struck a chord with you? What do you find yourself already doing? What would you like to do in a different way? What would you like to remember from this evening? What would you like to take with you? So maybe just we'll put on the pause button here and we'll have time then for maybe some questions and, you know, just see what it is you'd like to share with everyone this evening.
I'm going to go to you, Francis. Do you have some questions for us?
I do indeed. Thanks very much, Ailish. So lots of questions coming in for you, Finola. And I suppose one of them just really struck me that we might start with, which is all the different ways you gave us. You know, are they techniques? Are they um, different ways that we each of us can do it, or can we try all of them?
That's a great question, Francis. I think we can try all of them. But I think too, some of us are drawn to some more than others. And what I did this evening was I shared what I find helpful myself. Do I engage with all of them at the same time or in a given day? No, I don't. But I might feel drawn to one or two of them. And I'm just conscious as I was reflecting and preparing for this evening, I just went through the things that I find helpful and just offering them as a prompt, really, to prompt and invite others. Well, what do I find helpful? What works for me? And I might, there could be many more that people would find they can use to create inner space that I haven't mentioned this evening. So I would just say try whatever you feel drawn to and whatever you might find helpful.
Thanks a million. That's helpful. And somebody has asked here about, that space between when something triggers you and
Yes,
pulls you out of your inner peace and our response and how we might not rush into
yes,
reacting. Would you say a
yes.
little bit about that, please?
I will indeed. And you've reminded me, maybe sorry, I'll go back to what you reminded me of. But it's really natural when something triggers us, it's really natural to react and we want to. And, sometimes we hear people, psychologists suggesting count to 10, or take a breath or whatever. What I find helpful, and I can react as quickly as anybody else, if I have the time or the space to go for a walk, to try and see what's going on here, what got triggered in me, what's that about? Is it familiar? Have I got triggered by this thing before? Or what is it? People can press our buttons. And sometimes these triggers can be a great invitation because if somebody presses my buttons, there might be something still unresolved in me that is looking for healing, that is looking for integration, that is looking for ownership. And if I could find myself working with that, I it can be a great way of my growth and my becoming. But I do find exercise really helpful here. And what I was going to say there, Francis, when you asked the question, we react. And if you take that word reactive and all the letters that comprise reactive, juggle them around, and you get the word creative. And creative begins with a C, and it's all about how we see things. So sometimes we need to take that space and begin to see things from a different angle. And sometimes also when we react, yes, it can be our stuff, but that person is also coming from their own unresolved spaces as well. And it's to differentiate what's going on here. Is it my stuff or that person's stuff? Now that seems that's quite a long answer, but I hope that
Yeah.
makes sense.
No, I
Uh,
think that's very helpful because sometimes things happen that we react to somebody, but maybe, as you say, it's somebody's throwing stuff at us, or just where the mood they're in that
yes,
kind of brings something to the fore. There's two questions here, and they're coming in from different sides of the diocese, but really interesting. One is asking, like, are there specific meditations or apps that you use? And the other is around all those pastimes and the creative ways. Where do we, I suppose, explore further from what you said?
Okay. So let me answer the second question first. How do we explore further in terms of pastimes? Sometimes we have the sense that I'd like to develop um, a hobby, another hobby. Now, I'll just give you an example again from myself. COVID hit and we were in lockdown, and a neighbour down the road had been gifted with a cross-stitch kit that her daughter-in-law had given her. And she offered it to me because the neighbour's hands are full of arthritis and she wouldn't be able to thread the needle. And she asked me, would I like it? And I said yes, but I hadn't a clue how to do cross stitch and I had never done cross stitch before. Well, thanks to that lovely neighbour, I'm nearly addicted to cross stitch now. And I find it's a new hobby that I developed during lockdown, but it's something that I find so relaxing. And to sit down in the evening or in a quiet moment and just do the cross stitch, I find it brings me deeper and deeper into myself, and in a very healthy way rather than an introspective way, if you know what I mean.
Mm.
So I would say people know what they find helpful. And if somebody would like to develop a new hobby, a creative hobby, go for it. You know, I've my New Year's resolution for the past few years I have a bodhrán, a gorgeous bodhrán. I want to learn how to play it. But unless I do something about, and I will do something about it, it's about um, setting out on that journey to do something that will enhance um, your being, your presence, your ways of engaging with life, etc.
Mm.
Um, that's one. The first part of the question, Francis, remind me again.
It was around apps or,
Oh yes, a meditation.
technology maybe that helps for meditation or
Yeah.
for
Now,
drawing into ourselves.
to be honest, I don't use any apps for meditation, and I'm not familiar with some, but there are apps out there that you can explore. There is a meditation that you can find online, and it's called a loving kindness meditation, and that can be really helpful. And sometimes it can be really helpful to, if there's a gospel story that you particularly like, um, to just to spend time with that gospel story. Why has it caught your attention? What do you like about it? Who are you identifying with in the meditation? But meditation is very personal, and meditation can be very difficult because people have often said to me, "Oh, I can't, I fall asleep," or um, my mind wanders too much. And that's okay. And I think it was Thomas Keating, the American contemplative monk, who talked about meditation, and he invites us to imagine that as you sit down and you're sitting by a river, and yes, your thoughts come, but just let them go, let them float down the river, and because they'll come back to you. They might need your attention at another time, but it's something about, even for 5 minutes, to sit down and become aware of your breath and allow your breathing, your breath to quieten yourself. And it's very good for us physically, in terms of quietening the heartbeat, quietening the pulse, lowering the blood pressure, etc. That medics have talked about the benefits of meditation there. Francis, I'm sorry I can't be a bit more helpful with
Not
apps.
at all. No, that's really helpful because I suppose another question that has come in here, which is around that thing of creating peace. Like sometimes we go away on holidays, or somebody's mentioned being in a place of pilgrimage, and you do get that sense of deep peace, but then you come home and it's very hard to bring it with you.
Yes, yes,
So I think it's something I'm hearing something in what you're saying about creating those places of peace within ourselves and around ourselves.
yes, indeed. And as I was preparing for this, one of the things I read is about, even to create a space that is peace-filled in your own home. Well, and that could involve decluttering, having a space where there is no clutter, because now, whether this is true or not, but I've heard psychologists saying a cluttered space is a cluttered mind. Be that true or not, I don't know. But it's something, how can I create a space? And it might be getting up, early in the morning, whatever time, 5 minutes or 15 minutes before others, having that quiet moment to yourself, whether it's again having a cup of tea, or just sitting in the quiet. There's nothing nicer than the early morning and the fresh air, and the air is different early in the morning, and nature is just beginning to awaken, and just being with that's a great way to help create inner peace.
Well, thank you, Finola. People have written in lots of thanks here in terms of, because there is turmoil and struggle and difficulty in people's lives, and just appreciating the suggestions that you've given. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Frances.
No, I think there was a prayer you wanted to share with us.
There
for
is,
reflection.
yes. I was hoping there'd be time for that. I have a lovely prayer. I think it's John O'Donoghue. I think it could be from his book, Bannock. But it's a prayer, a blessing of peace. And let me just read it here for you. May today there be peace within. May you trust your highest power, that you are exactly where you are meant to be. May you not forget the infinite possibilities that are born of faith. May you use those gifts which you have received and pass on the love that has been given to you. May you be content, knowing you are a child of God. Let God's presence settle into your bones and allow your soul the freedom to sing and dance and to bask in the sun. Amen.
Amen. That was beautiful. Thank you, Finola. And thank you. I think you've given us an awful lot to think about. And I think sometimes we don't tend to take time out of busy lives, or if we're in turmoil or there's an awful lot going on, we almost feel guilty for indulging in a pastime. But that pastime can often allow us to explore our gifts and talents, sometimes talents that we don't even know we have. And that those God-given talents can come to the fore when we do what sometimes we might feel is selfish, but actually it's really important because it allows us to connect with God as well. So thank you for reminding us about that. And thank you to everybody tonight who has joined in and who has put forward questions. I'm sorry we didn't have time to get to all of them. It has been an absolute pleasure, Finola. I'm sure we'll hear from you again.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And to everybody, it's been a pleasure to host this evening. It's been a pleasure to have you all here with us. And I hope we'll see you again tomorrow night and for the next few nights when we've more exciting speakers. And thanks again, Finola. Good night, everybody.
Very much. And good night, everyone. Thanks, Ailish. Good night.
Good night.